Thank you for those who have started already putting their names and their groups so far in the chat. As I mentioned last week, I hope everyone is well and ready for something new. So we are going to look at those. As you saw in the preview video, today's class is going to be relatively easy compared to other sessions. Have to, must, and should. All right. Adverbs of obligation and recommendations. And then next week, we'll tag on a little bit of what is reflexive pronouns. Let me stop sharing again. And let me bring up the calendar just to go over how things are, going back to normal, so to speak. We had one little bit of adjustment, but in general, I think everyone is fairly on track, at least everyone here. And the goal is to keep you on track all the way to next year's um, final session. All right. So let me just bring up, first of all, the calendar. All right, that's super important for what we're doing. And go through a little bit of what's next. Let me kind of show that to you. This is how our calendar looks. All right, so we had a little bit of a bump, but now we are back on track. Right, so that was October. Now we're in November. And November is going to go back to how things were expected to flow. November, we have Unit 5, Section 5, and we're looking at modal verbs and reflective pronouns. Today, I'm going to activate Forum 5 after our class is over. And the goal is to complete all your activities, push through your ideas and your creativity through the forum, and have 2 sessions to go through the ideas in this unit. It's going to be very, very straightforward. So, right, that's our plan here. Today we'll look at modal verbs. Next class we'll look at reflexive pronouns. All right? So that's going to be it. Now, all right, I see 13, so maybe there's some others that still haven't done so. Remember, guys, if you haven't done so yet, full names and groups in the chat, right? So we can register attendance. Most of you have already done so, some of you still have not, right? Now, I'm going to be using 3 bits of aids. I'm going to look at modals from here. We're also going to add a little bit of the negative form as well. And I'll share this as well. This has another video that will also be useful. And as you can tell, must, have to, and should are generally put together. All right, they are just different levels of what is expected. All right, now expectations in terms of obligations and recommendations are, of course, different levels. All right, so I'll share that with you as well. All right, without any further delay, let's dive in. A modal, like an auxiliary verb, are helping verbs. All right, their function in these cases will be a little bit different than just helping the verb. Now, generally, we think of helping verbs as the verb to be, or the verb to have, or the verb to do. We've used the verb to be, when we're trying to construct like continuous sentences to show progression. We've used the verb to do when we're asking questions or expressing negation. And we've used the verb to have when we're doing perfect tenses, all helping mostly with the time and showing that it's either progressive or a perfect sentence. Now we're going to do a little bit more in terms of helping. Modal verbs can express exactly that. A setting, an ability, a possibility, necessity, or other mode that these verbs will do in front of the action verb or the stative verb. All right? So that's what we're going to be practicing today. As usual, this particular tool does allow you to go through the ideas in Spanish if you need additional help. I think I'll add another link here as well. I think I have another 2 sites that will help you with modal verbs. So I'll add 2 more links to your notes after class. All right. In addition, when you think of modals, there are more than just the 3 we will focus on in your portal. All right. This is a good list. Can and could usually are for ability. May, might, also for ability, but more possibility. Will helps us with talking about the future. So does shall. Should, as we'll see, was usually used for recommendations. Ought to as well. Must and have to for obligations. And would are a little polite or conditional phrase. All right, so we're going to go through a little bit more and then we will definitely dive into more closely the ones that we need for the unit. And by unit, I simply mean make sure you're opening up a new section in your revision and creating new folders for this guy. All right. Remember, each unit has activities to help you practice all 4 of these, as well as a self-assessment. Make sure to complete and save your evidence in your folders. Now, let's start with can. I usually start in order, but when I was looking at the list, I noticed that Miguel was the first to join in. So Miguel, why don't you start us off? Can.
Yes, teacher. Use can meaning to be able to indicates ability or possibilities. Examples, I can speak 5 languages. We can work late tonight if you need us. Bill and Tom can't help you.
Miguel, can you play any musical instruments?
Oh, no, I can't.
All right. Expressing ability or inability. Good. All right. A few more examples. The restaurant.
Yes, teacher. The restaurant can be expensive if you drink a lot of wine. It can be dangerous to drive if you are tired.
Good. Now, when asking questions, the idea is generally the same. You're using your helping or your modal verb first to construct the idea. Specifically, can is used in a particular way. Melissa, in interrogative sentences.
Yes, in interrogative sentences, we use can to ask permission, informality, or to ask about possibilities. Examples: can I have a glass of water? Can you help me? Or can they work late tonight?
All right, good. Now, Melissa, can you drive?
No, I can.
All right. Well, you both need to learn. Learn an instrument, learn to drive. It will be very helpful in the future. All right. Let's go on to could. Annalise, when do we use the past form? Could.
Yes, teacher. Meaning past tense of can indicates ability or possibility in the past. Examples: George could speak Spanish when he was young. I couldn't sleep last night. Y Could you play an instrument when you were a child?
A child. All right. Now, in your case, Annalise, think about when you were maybe in primary school. Could you do algebra in primary school?
Um, mm, no lo entendí, teacher.
All right, let me write the question on the screen and see if we can just create the same idea in either affirmative or negative. Could you do algebra in primary school?
Que se podría hacer álgebra en la primaria.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, no, no, no,
No, I?
no, I could.
Good. All right. Now, of course, you can now because you're a lot smarter, but imagine uh, a 6, 7-year-old trying to do algebra. Very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Good. All right, let's continue with Carolina. What about when we want to ask a question using the same structure?
Could is also used for possibilities in the future. You could pass the test if you studied. I think it could rain later.
All right. Now, in your opinion, Carolina, just think about yourself. Could you get a 10 in English in May? What do you think?
I think I could.
Perfect. All right. Now, in the interrogative form, we use it pretty much the same as we would can. All right. Scarlett, question form.
Yes. As with can in interrogative tense, could is used to ask permission or to ask about possibilities, but in a more formal sense. Examples. Could you pass the salt, please? Could you help me? Could I be wrong?
All right. Now, in this season, since we have a different weather phenomenon, we notice different temperatures and different um, types of weather. In what's happening, Scarlett, could this be a white Christmas in Mexico City?
No, I could. Oh, ¿cómo se dice?
All right. All right. I'm not asking you specifically about you. I'm asking about Mexico City. All right. So, no, I don't think it could be a white Christmas. All right. And when I say white Christmas, that does mean whether or not it will snow. Maybe it will snow in El Ajusco or even in Los Dinamos up in the mountains, but generally, Mexico City doesn't have a white Christmas. All right, practice with me, Scarlett.
No, I don't think it could be a white Christmas.
All right. At least not this year. It doesn't seem cold enough. All right. Now,
Yes.
don't forget could. We're gonna see it maybe next year when we look at conditional sentences with if and would and will some more. All right, well, let's continue. May. Elizabeth?
May, meaning uses to indicate possibilities in the future. Examples: I will bring an umbrella. It may rain later. It may be better to finish the snow rather than wait until tomorrow.
Now, I don't know about you or how good you are with the weather, but I look outside and I think, There are some possibilities. Elizabeth, do you think it may rain today?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, what about using may in another way? Well, let's continue a little bit more with Amairani. How else can we use may?
Yes, may is all used to give permissions or instructions. Examples, you may leave if you like. You may use your cell phones now.
Good. All right. Now, we saw can, we saw could, and now we're seeing may. Notice how they are very similar when it comes to questions. Naomi, how do we use may for questions?
In interrogative sentences, may is the most polite way to ask permission, as opposed to can or could.
All right. For example,
Examples: may I have a glass of water? May I leave now?
all right. And yes, polite is showing respect, maybe for someone who is in authority, maybe for someone who is in a different position, or you're just speaking in a way that is most friendly. All right. Polite is a good thing. Right. Next one we have might. Also in the same category with the other possibility modals. Fatima.
Yes, teacher. Might, meaning synonym of may, indicates possibilities in the present or future. I would bring an umbrella. It might rain later. It might be better to finish this now rather than wait until tomorrow.
All right. Now, if we see some words are much more common in American English than in British English, all right? But it's still good to practice them, all right? For example, may and might, we definitely use them a lot, um, but is much more common, for example, to use might when asking for permission in British English, like, might I have a cup of coffee, please? Would be something a Brit would say more than an American. All right? Now, what about will? Let's go in another direction. Here, we're going to look a little bit differently. Vits, Vetsaira, let's start with will.
Yes, teacher. Meaning used to express
Willingness.
willingness or consent.
Mhm,
As we will see in later lessons, will is used to form the future tense.
mhm.
Examples: I will help you. We will learn in English.
All right. Now, in our case, we used it last class. We were practicing future tense in the last class. It expresses spontaneity without evidence. It expresses an idea of what will be in the proximity. So it helps us to give us a glimpse into future times. Now, it's not generally evidence-based. We don't really know the intentions of the people talking, but it does help us to show, what's on their mind. What they're saying is okay for them. Now, of course, we also have questions. Grethel, how do we use it in the question form?
Yes, Willie used interrogative sentence to ask information, a favor, or opinion. Examples: will they find a cure for cancer? Will you help me move? Will he go to Paris by car or train?
Right. Now, we know that will is used for spontaneous activities, not a plan. With plans, we would go for going to. But with spontaneous expressions or answers, will is perfect. It helps us to give a bit of information, simple information in the moment. And that's why it's also perfect in this type of questions. But as we look at will, we notice that LL structure. Guess who else has LL at the end? Well, shall. All right? And how do we use shall? Very much the same as will. Angel, shall.
Meaning uses like will to express the future. The use of shall is much more common in British English and generally considered more polite.
Polite.
Examples. Chris shall be happy to see you.
All right, I'll take the 3 o'clock train. All right. Now, shall, and yes, if you ever watch a British series or a movie based in a part of Grand Britannia, you'll notice Great Britain has these different ways of using the English language. Now, of course, there is an opinion that British English is more pure and American English is more um, flexible. There are lots of different words in American English or expressions, but both of them are useful. All right. We know that will and shall are therefore expressing the future. When we have that apostrophe LL, both of them are being considered because they're both used in the same way. So I'll can mean I will or I shall because there's an expression of intent about the future. All right. We can also use it a little bit differently when asking questions. Javi.
Yes, teacher. We also use shall for offers or make suggestions or to ask about opinions of preference. Shall we meet at 10 p.m.? Shall we go to the movies or a museum?
All right. Now, suggestions is the work of the next one as well. So people might think, shall is the present form of should. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. We'll see because shall is more about your immediate future or a simple future. It doesn't necessarily match with should, but it does help talk about suggestions, which is really important for the next one. The next one we look at will be should. Yetzi, what do we use should for?
Yeah, teacher. Meaning indicates a recommendation or obligation or reflects an opinion about what is right or correct. Examples, I should call my parents more often. You shouldn't work so hard. They should practice more if they want to win the championship.
All right. Now, Yamilet, if I want to save money, should I take a taxi every day or should I take the train?
You shouldn't take a train.
All right. You should take the train because the train is cheaper, right? So that's a recommendation. Now we can use it in question forms as well. Regina.
Yes, um, so I use interrogative sentences to ask if there is an obligation or to ask for a recommendation. Example, should we leave a tip? So I have the steak or the chicken. Where should they meet you?
Right. Now, ought to is like should and is expressing something similar. We're thinking about recommendations or suggestions. All right. Now, let's dive in a little bit deeper. Dana. Jimena, Dana Jimena.
Oh, yes. Ought to, meaning synonym of should, although it is less common. She ought to quit smoking. I ought to call my parents more often. They ought to work less.
Right. Same idea, recommending a course of action, or what would be the best suggestion. Now, that course of action might have a rule. When rules come into play, then we should use words that are stronger, like must. All right? Angie, help me here.
Sí. Must indicates an obligation, prohibition when in the negative or necessary. It is a synonym of have to in affirmative sentence. Examples: you must have to read this book. It's fantastic. You must have to brush your teeth 2 times a day. We must have to leave now or we will be late. You must not drink and drive. When must we meet you?
All right. Now, in all cases, in question and affirmative or negative forms, the idea being expressed for must is this is the rule. Do it this way. All right? You don't want to do it another way. All right? We can also slip in probabilities when we used must. All right? The idea here is also true. Raul.
Yes. We also use must for probability or assumptions. Examples: John's not here. He must be sick because he never misses class.
Mhm.
It must be difficult to learn a new language as an adult.
All right. Now, in the first examples, we saw that must talks about the rule. And here, basically, it's just talking about what we believe to be most true. All right. What is the highest possibility? All right. And therefore, we use must for it as well. Now, you might hear some jokes or expressions that don't really make any full sense. And English has what we call rhetoric and sarcastic expressions. Rhetoric is probably something you will see a little bit more. All right. So hopefully when you see it, it doesn't confuse you. Here are some examples of rhetorical sentences. All right. Must you always be late? There's no answer for that. Must she talk so much? You don't expect the person to answer, but you say it in a rhetorical way, even sarcastically, right? Last one, but by no means least, would. Mariana?
Yes. Meaning past tense of will indicates preference, desire, or intention. Examples: she would like to go to New York someday.
Mhm.
I would like a beer and my wife would like a glass of wine, please. Would you like some coffee? Would you help me, please? When would you like to go to the movies?
All right. Now, one of the big difficulties with would for Spanish speaker is the W sound. All right. So in general, you want to be smooth with your W. You're going to be moving your lips together, almost like you're pouting, and you go w, w. It's like pushing ear through rounded lips. So would. All right, Mariana, would you? Our natural sound in Spanish is more of a G sound, but this is a W sound. W. All right. And as it mentioned, it's like will in specifically expressing preferences, desires, and intentions, which is why it's perfect when we're talking in conditional sentences. All right, but we'll see those conditional sentences in the future. Now, our unit looks at should, ought to, have to, and must, right? We didn't really dive into have to so much. So let me show it to you over here. Must and have to are the same, but like the video mentions, the big difference between must and have to is one, it's self that pushes the idea. This is my understanding of it, while have to is imposed by the outside. All right, so that's just the big differences between must and have to. Must, the obligation comes from the speaker, and have to, the obligation comes from another person. Both talk about obligations. All right, now we're going to do some exercises with modals in general. But since this is a small group as well, I think we can take advantage of our numbers and start over here. And I'll go back to the top of the list. I'll start with Raul, Mr. Acevedo. Number 1.
Yes. Do you think I should apply for this job?
Yes, I think you should. All right. What's the recommendation? That's good. Number 2, Melissa. Miss Aguilar Perez. Palais.
Sí, ay, perdón, pensé que era otra Melissa.
No, you, Mel.
Okay. Um, I I don't have to leave now. I have a driving lesson.
Driving lesson. I have
Driving
to.
lesson.
Exactly. The expression is coming from outside. All right. Next one. Annalise.
Yes, teacher. Um, yo don't shouldn't you shouldn't stay up too late if you have an exam tomorrow.
All right. That's a very good recommendation. All right. You shouldn't do that because you're going to be tired. All right. Next one. Carolina.
All employees should wash their hands before starting work.
All right. Now, I think you need to be stronger. This is a rule, Carolina. What do we use for rules? All right. Now, yes, should is not a bad answer. But I think if you see anything in all caps, it must be a rule. So I would go for something stronger like must. All employees must. All right. And knowing what happened after the pandemic, I think must is also very good. All right. Let's continue with Scarlett.
Voy. Sería, you have to buy tickets in advance. You can't buy them the same day.
Good. Right. The obligation is coming not from you, but from Ticketmaster or from the ticket booth at the movie theater. All right. Miguel.
Yes, teacher. Uh, the film was rubbish. You don't have to see it.
All right. It wouldn't be a good recommendation. All right. Now, mustn't know because it's not a rule. Should also know because rubbish means it's garbage. So you don't want to recommend something that's garbage. Shouldn't is soft enough. So either of these two is acceptable. All right. Let's keep going. All right. Elizabeth, number 7.
Hey, you don't have to smoke in here.
All right. That's the rule. You mustn't smoke. One more time.
Hey, you mustn't smoke in here.
Good. All right. And if you see anyone on campus doing that, hey, 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 maybe in your school, but here, none of that. You mustn't smoke here and call the authorities. All right. Letter 8. Amairani.
I think the government um, um, should help you people to find jobs.
All right. All right. I would be stronger. Yes, it's not necessarily an obligation. Should is the right answer. But if you want to go stronger, you could say the government has to help young people because it's kind of their job. But yes, has to is also a good option. Must know or mustn't know because we want them to do it, but we don't really necessarily force the government to do anything. All right, next one. Naomi.
What time have you to get there?
All right. What time do you? Again.
What time do you have to get there?
All right. Remember when asking questions, you still need helping verbs. So you'll use your helping verb and your modal verb. All right. What time do you have to get there? All right. In this case, there are other cases where you can use the modal verb to start your question. What have you there? All right. What must you do? That's a different type of question. All right. Fatima.
Yes, teacher. It's a public holiday tomorrow, so I shouldn't go to work.
Right. Unless the boss says so. All right, that's some sort of a suggestion. But public holidays are known in advance. So this is not a recommendation. This is something that you need to or you don't need to. All right, it's a holiday. You don't have to go to work. Repeat.
It's a public holiday tomorrow, so I don't have to go to work.
There is no obligation of you presenting yourself there. The boss might say, "Hey, I'll give you 3 times the money," and yeah, okay, I'll take the money and I'll go to work. All right, but it is not your obligation. Let's keep going. Use must, mustn't, must not, can't, have to, don't have to, should or shouldn't to complete these ideas here. Of course, read your prompt first, then complete the idea below. All right, Vetsaida.
Yes, teacher. You're at a party and it's after midnight. I must go. It's getting late.
All right. You're at a party and it's after midnight. You
I
What did you say? Which one of the
uh,
modals?
I espera, um,
Remember, you're
I
you're talking to someone else at the party.
the most.
You think it's must? I must go. It's getting late. All right? It's not a rule. You could use something like I have to go. All right? That's much more common to say. Hey guys, nice party, but it's getting late. I have to go. All right? Repeat.
I must.
Mm,
I have to go. It's get late.
It's getting late. Good. All right. Let's continue. Gretel?
Yes. ¿Tengo que leer todo o...?
Yeah, let's start here.
Yes?
You,
Okay.
number 12.
You're
Mm-hmm.
12. You're at a restaurant wheel and you can eat buffet where a sign says customers eat everything they have taken before coming back for more. Um, should
All right. Now think of it as a buffet. So this would be a rule. Customers must eat everything they have before coming back for more. All right, repeat.
customers must eat everything they have taken before coming back for more.
All right. Let's continue. And if you don't remember, guys, we're using must and mustn't, should, shouldn't, have to, don't have to in these examples. All right. Angel, 13.
At the same restaurant, your friend tells you about the signal. It says you uh, uh,
All right. So the same idea, same
uh,
rule, but negative. What's a negative form?
shouldn't.
Mustn't, because it's a rule. You're at the same buffet. All right.
Okay.
Repeat.
It says you mustn't go up again until you be finished what you be taken.
All right. And yes, if you hear shouldn't, guys, when people speak, it's generally because they don't want to be rude. All right. They're trying to be more polite. So it's very common to hear people use shouldn't instead of mustn't, but mustn't is for obligations. All right. Practice using mustn't. All right. Next one. I believe it's Javi's turn.
Yes, teacher. You are still at the same restaurant. You say to your friend, wow, you absolutely try this chocolate cake. It's incredible. You absolutely should try this chocolate.
All right. Because you're giving them a recommendation. You absolutely should. All
And
right. Let's go with Yamilet. You're at the library.
Sí. You're in the library and you see this saying, mobile phones must not be used interlinearly.
Exactly. Don't do it. That's the rule. All right, next one, number 16. Regina.
In the same library, you as a member of class. Mm, excuse me, do I still pay to borrow book?
All right, you're asking about the obligations. So, do I have to pay? All right, tengo que pagar? Do I have to pay to borrow books? Repeat.
Do I have to pay to borrow book?
Good. All right, so you're asking about your obligations. What is the rule here? All right, Dana Jimena, number 17.
Um, your round gave you a birthday present 2 weeks ago. You say to yourself, I really have to write her a letter to say thank you.
Okay. You really have to, you really should, although both of those are good. All right. Angie, 18.
Sí, sería, your son has fallen off his feet. You, so you say, sería, you
Mm-hmm.
should have been going too fast.
All right. Stronger with the negation part. You shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have been going so fast.
All right. That's not the recommended speed. All right. And Mariana. Are you speaking, Mariana? We're not hearing you. Okay, maybe her microphone is busted. All right, so 19 says, if you are on your way to visit a friend who offers to pick you up from the station, but you say, it's okay, you don't have to do that. I can walk. Maybe it's a short distance, right? And 20, you are finishing up an assignment and you ask your teacher, should I include a bibliography? Yes, of course, it's a research paper. You always have to include that. Citations, please, citations. All right? So those are your modals, guys. I'll share this with you via the stream. And if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and start practicing in Unit 5 as we get closer and closer to accrediting this new level of English. All right? Enjoy your Saturday as well. Be safe, and if you need help with anything, don't be shy. Shoot me a message or an email. See you soon. Take care.